They're trying to perpetuate the narrative of toxic black masculinity to feed into this radical feminist movement that's trying to destroy the relevance of black men in American homes. We got to push back against it. I want Jonathan Majors to hold his head, stop dating snow bunnies. Michael Irvin could be somewhat Negropean, but at the same time, I don't want to see him destroyed for something that he really didn't do. Black men need to stay away from snow bunnies. Nothing good is coming out of it. Tiger Woods is being sued right now by a snow bunny girlfriend. She won $30 million because he kicked her out of his house. She won 30. They not married.
Right.
She won $30 million for Tiger Woods kicking her out the house. Now his first wife took almost $1 billion from him. Yes. Now she won another 30. I don't know what it is about the white woman. I have no disrespect towards her, but I don't understand what it is about the white woman that these black men are willing to throw away their whole life just to be with one. I don't get it. Black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
It's hot in here, like Nelly.
When they took the industrial building trade programs out of the high schools, that was the beginning of the mass incarceration of black males. They knew what they were doing. They did it on purpose. And I think that there needs to be a concerted effort by city council to put the building trade programs back into the school. And when we say put them back, we don't just mean a few plumbing classes. I want to be clear, because what a lot of school districts are doing is they're giving the kids a few plumbing classes, a few carpentry classes, a few electric classes. Give them the full curriculum required by the state that allows them to sit for their license after graduation. We want the full training, preparation, not just no introduction. Give them the preparation, because that's what the white boys are getting.
So how can we as parents begin to help our own selves to come out of this drama?
Well, see, here's the thing. I've never met an unemployed plumber, licensed plumber.
Okay.
I've never met an unemployed licensed electrician. I've never met an unemployed licensed carpenter. I've never met an unemployed licensed welder. I've never met an unemployed licensed auto mechanic. I've never met an unemployed person who had a skill that can pay bills.
Okay.
I know hundreds of unemployed people with master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and doctorate degrees. We have to understand that the education we get at the university level is an education that prepares you to work at a white institution. Those educations don't prepare you to be an entrepreneur, nor do they prepare you to service and build infrastructure in the black community. If the white man isn't hiring, then your college degree is damn near useless. If you look at most of the black people you know with a college degree, they're working in the public sector. Teachers, civil service, government, politics, child advocacy, child welfare is something government funded, because white corporate America does not hire black people. There would be no black middle class if the government didn't make one themselves through these public sector jobs. But when you have a skill that can pay the bill, you can always feed your family. You can always feed your family.
I believe that that a lot of the ills are us not knowing ourselves. And so I know you dabble in the metaphysical and that kind of thing of that nature. Black people needing 7 to 14 minutes of sunlight every day. Is that really important? Sun gazing?
It's very important, especially for us, because we're melanated beings.
Okay.
So the relationship between African people and the sun is a very profound one. This is why in ancient Kemet, our ancestors actually used the sun as the primary symbol for God. Because just as the world revolves around God, everything living revolves around the sun, and without that sun, your melanin does not get activated. Your third eye, pineal gland, does not get activated. Nothing can really survive without the sunlight, including us. But because the white man has taught us to hate our skin color and our melanin, a lot of black people shun the sun. I've seen parents tell their children, come in the house before you get too black, get out the playground before you get too dark, failing to recognize that there is a divine energy emanating from that sun that your body needs. Melanin is not a color. It is a chemical, an energy, and a power. And in order for us to be healthy, functioning spiritual beings, we have to have our melanin activated by the sun. Black people cannot survive without the sun.
Breastfeeding, is that important?
Breastfeeding is very important. It's I would say it's emotionally important, because it begins to lay the foundation for the development of an emotionally and psychologically sound child. If you look, the research shows that children who were breastfed compared to children who were not breastfed come out with much more progressive social and emotional indicators. Breastfed children adjust to life circumstances a lot better than children who were fed machine milk from the white man. So yes, mothers should breastfeed. And I would argue that when a mother doesn't breastfeed, unless she has a medical justification to do so, in my opinion, that is an early form of child abuse and an early form of child neglect. God made those breasts for a reason. Your children need them. But in a new age where they have fed out women a steady diet of radical white feminism, a lot of black women are beginning to disdain motherhood, disdain rearing children, disdain being a caretaker of the home. Not to say they should not be operating outside the home, because I think a black woman could do anything a black man can do, but never abandon your cultural principles to include understanding the spiritual significance of making sure you are a mother and a caretaker to your babies.
Yeah. Or it wouldn't be a world.
It wouldn't be a world. And that's part of the reason why we have so much psychological illness in the black community today. Look at our depression rates. Look at our alcoholism. Look at our crack cocaine. Look at our opioid use. Look at our overeating, our overshopping, our anger. You know, we have a very strong toxic energy in the black community, the murdering. All of this can be traced to us abandoning our spiritual and cultural foundation for the white man's materialistic and capitalistic pursuits.
Wow, we've walked down a lot of roads, but I got a couple more to go.
Sure,
we walk right into
I'm good.
Abortion, and one of the biggest murderers, in my opinion, of the black family is the act of abortion. But again, now they've got us where we're fighting. We're fighting, you know, to be able to abort. I'm not one fighting my children. I mean, so how easy? I mean, I think of guys like Edward Bernays, who was supposed to be the father of propaganda. These other mind viruses that have really been placed in the community. And it's not just the black community. Whites are aborting their kids as well. But what do you say about abortion? And I know the adoption rates are down. Black people don't go get kids.
That's true.
Foster. We don't do any of that. And are we derelict in some of these areas? And what are your thoughts on abortion in general?
I'm not a supporter of it.
Okay.
I don't condemn anyone for life decisions that they've had to make for whatever reason. Nobody's perfect. But as a policy decision, the black community has to stop aborting its babies. But I would also say this. I don't want to scapegoat the black woman who gets an abortion no more than I want to scapegoat the black mother who's not able to control her son's behavior. We have to get back to the village concept, and we have to stop blaming our parents for the failures of the community. Where is the black church to support these single black mothers? Where are the black politicians? Where are the black businesses? Where are the black community-based organizations? So much is being dumped on the lap of black mothers when we talk about abortion, or when we talk about black child dysfunction, black male public school outcomes. Why are we blaming her? Why aren't we blaming all the black men in the community who claim to be leaders and organizers who are not helping our women raise their sons?
But don't we say that was the problem in the 70s and 80s when they did the government where you had to not have a man in the house to be able to get the money?
In order to get the welfare,
and so is that now, are we speaking the same language now?
Well, I tell you, the issue now is not so much not having a man in the house so you don't get the welfare check. The issue now is not having a man in the house so you don't lose your housing. Because now what we see is a lot of single mothers are being evicted because the child's father is back home from jail. He served his time in society, but Section 8 requires what? You cannot have a felon in that house, an able-bodied felon in the home. So a lot of women now have to keep the man out, not for welfare purposes, but for room and board purposes.
And of course, the old mind virus of I can do bad all by myself.
I can do bad all by myself. White feminism, radical white feminism has really done a job on the black community in convincing a lot of black women to see the black man as her main problem. White supremacy is the main problem of the black community. And we should be fighting that together as male and female. We should not be fighting one another, but that's exactly what the power structure wants to do.
Women and minority-owned businesses.
Absolutely.
That's one right there that creates. Guys, if you're gonna open a business, put it in your wife's name.
Put it in your wife's name. Well, that's also a reason why you have a lot of white men marrying these black women. They're trying to get the minority business status, and then once they get the business off the ground, they drop their black wife and go get a white wife. And a lot of black women fail to realize the economic opportunity you are for a lot of these white males out here.
Sort of like I ain't gonna spell her name, but a lot of TV networks. They
Yes, sir.
come on playing Martin and all the black shows. As soon as they get the Cume,
they
all
out.
of a sudden it's the Friends.
We have always been a means to an end for America. We have never been the end. And our problem in America is we hate each other more than we hate the racism. So most of us would rather take a chance on being accepted by white people than build up to create an independent, powerful black community.
You've been to not just Africa, but to various countries.
Everywhere but Australia.
Okay. Polygamy. Is that a thing? And could that be something that could strengthen, or would it be more detrimental to the black community in today's construct?
First of all, we already have polygamy.
Okay.
It's already practiced. Most males have more than one woman, regardless of race. The issue, though, is it's not regulated or organized. So women are being exploited and children are being neglected. So the issue for black women is for sisters to come together without us there to decide how they're going to regulate this system of polygyny that you already have. It's not about bringing something new into the black community. It's already here, but it's not benefiting black women. They're losing. So black women need to organize and put some rules and accountability systems to it so it can begin to work for them. In many matriarchal African societies, polygyny was created by females, not males. And the reason women gave birth to polygyny in matriarchal African societies is to make sure every woman had what they had. It was the Ubuntu principle. I am because we are. My sister cannot be without a husband if I have one. So looking at the best interests of the black community and matriarchal African communities, the women, not men, women said you're going to have more than one wife, because in order for us to maintain the ecological balance of the black community, in order for us to maintain law and order, in order for us to maintain unity and reciprocity, we got to make sure every woman has a man. Because when a woman doesn't have a man, she will gladly share yours. And one of the things that black women have to look at, and I'm not putting this all on the sisters, because a lot of black women have been in polygynous situations. I was raised Muslim, so I've seen in some situations, not all, where polygyny has been used against black women, where they've been exploited by Hebrew communities, Muslim communities, even polygynous Christian communities, and other communities that took advantage of the black woman's willingness to share her husband. So I understand where the sister is coming from. I'm simply saying this: as long as white America has a war on black men that's sending us to the cemetery and to the graveyard in significant numbers, as long as there is a shortage of available heterosexual black males, black women are going to have to consider some form of plural marriage. It doesn't have to be for everyone. It doesn't have to be indefinite. It doesn't have to last forever. But if we want to get out of this, what quicker way to get out of this than to make sure every home got a man in it? Yeah. And also, when we have these conversations about polygyny, the female voice is often carried by the elitist middle-class black woman. In other words, you only hear from black women who don't have to share their husbands. You never hear from Sister Rashida on Section 8 with 8 boys pulling her hair out. You don't hear about Sister Kim, you understand me, who is at a point in her life where she's not able to raise these kids on her own, unemployed, living on the street. Talk to the women who are struggling, and most of them will tell you, yes, I'm willing to experience that because what I'm experiencing right now ain't it. This conversation is controlled by elitist black women, upper middle class black women with European values.
That's what's up. And my final topic on this, we've covered literally everything on my paper, is transgender. Why is the church so silent on one fact that boys shouldn't be playing against girls in sports? Not even any of the other major things, but I mean, that just seems like common sense. But why do you think, not just the church, I don't take that back. Why is the black community, in my opinion, silent on those issues?
Well, number one, ever since President George W. Bush came up with the faith-based initiative and made black churches eligible for federal money, black churches have done nothing for the black community. They're too afraid of losing funding. They're too afraid of not qualifying for the funding. So they're done. Black church is done. Whatever the white man wants to push into black America, black church will co-sign it because they don't want to lose their funding. Now, black America in general, we're afraid to speak out against childhood transgenderism. And I can't even believe those two words go together. Childhood transgenderism. The reason the black community is afraid to speak out against childhood transgenderism is because the white power structure said that this is now a civil right for children to change their gender. And if you speak out against civil rights, you can lose your job, you can lose your reputation, you can be sued, a whole bunch of things can happen to you. But you know what's ironic? I know of 2 cases in America right now where school staff have called black children the N-word. Nobody got fired. You follow that? So it's all selective. You're not going to pick on the transgenders. You're not going to pick on the Asians. You're not going to pick on the LGBT, but it's perfectly acceptable to disrespect black folks.
America is having, what is America? America going through a nervous breakdown because now you got BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Yes.
They've decided to no longer use the American dollar as the medium of exchange for the business they do with each other.
Okay.
That's reducing the America's dollar's influence on the global market. So America now trying to get back into Africa and improve relationships with Africa to try to stave off China and Russia undermining the American economy. That's why Donald Trump was indicted the other day. It's no coincidence Donald Trump got indicted on the same day that BRICS decided we're no longer using the American dollar as the medium of exchange. The reason they can't have Donald Trump as the next president is Donald Trump is too aggressive, too racist, too hostile, too imperialist. They don't need that right now. They needed that during his first term. But this term, they need somebody who's going to be a little bit more amenable to building relationships with black people around the world, not destroying them. Donald Trump would not be good for what America needs over the next 10 years, and that's why he got indicted. They're going to try to keep him out the race. They need somebody who's going to play ball with Africa to try to keep Africa from falling into the hands of the Russians and the Chinese.
Fentanyl crisis. What do you think about that? Talk to us.
All of the drug addiction crises that we had in America, going back to heroin, are orchestrated by the government. Sometimes they use our black people in the city centers as a test case to see how you're going to react to this new drug before we drop it off in people in second and third world nations. Chemical warfare is a real thing. That's why the British dropped opium off in China and sedated the Chinese. You understand me?
Yeah.
Most of what we suffer from right now as black America is still the aftershock of the cocaine war against black America in 1980. We haven't rebounded yet from the cocaine crack. The crack era, every problem we got right now to these boys killing each other on the street grew out of the crack cocaine war by the CIA against black America. Okay. Fentanyl, opioids, here's the biggest contradiction in both of them. During the crack era, if you got caught with crack, you going to jail. Yes. Whether you was a user or a seller. They're not locking up these white fentanyl addicts. They're not locking up these white opioid addicts. They're giving them safe places to use the drug. They're giving them places to sleep, places to eat. You understand me? It's being treated like a public health crisis. But when you get caught with crack, it's treated like a criminal justice crisis.
Okay.
White privilege.
Hip hop. Something I love.
Toxic.
I'm going to ask you a question. I know you're about to go with it. Is it hurting? We know it has hurt. But as it grows, because hip-hop, we all know...
most influential musical art form in the world right now.
Correct. It's a trend that they thought that was never going to expand to 50 years where it is now. They thought it was going to be a passing phase. Is hip-hop going to hurt continuously the black community, or will it come back and help us?
Hip-hop could be a solution, but right now hip-hop is a cancer on black America.
Okay.
Why? Because it is programming our young people towards materialism, misogyny, sexual exploitation, drug use, drug selling, mass incarceration. Hip hop is the marketing medium for mass incarceration.
Okay.
And until the leading hip hop influencers change the direction of the content, hip hop cannot be considered a blessing to the black community. It's a curse until we take it back. For all that hip hop has done, the question you got to ask yourself, what has been the net gain to black America of hip hop? What have we gained as a people as a result of 50 years of hip hop? Can you name a single institution? 50 years of hip hop. You're talking billions of dollars. Billions. Can you name a single institution that hip hop has built for the black community in 50 years? Have they built a bank? Have they built a school? Have they built a hospital? Have they built a supermarket? Is there a distribution network? Is there a manufacturing industry? Absolutely not. Hip hop has not shown and proved. The losses far outseed the gains. You got some millionaires. You got some brothers who make a living through hip hop, which is good. But look at the other side of this. How many black children are out here committing crimes because they think it's popular, because they're being told this is what you need to do to be a man? How many? I do not think hip hop has assumed the responsibility for contributing to the problems in our community. They didn't invent them. Hip hop did not invent black on black crime. I want to be clear. Hip hop did not invent the violence, but hip hop glamorizes and popularizes it. Let me say this another way. Black men in America are going to go down in history as being the only exterminated population in human existence who actually marketed their own extermination. No other people voluntarily destroyed and desecrated their own public image before the world for money. I saw a Roddy Ricch concert. Somebody sent me a clip. This Negro is in Europe singing one of his songs filled with the N-word. And he has the white people, and the audience was damn near all white because most people who purchased the music are white. And he has these white people singing along with him as he sings this N-word filled song and they're literally singing the N-word with him leading them from the stage. That was an embarrassment to every black person who ever walked the face of this earth.
Powerful. Well, one thing I can say about hip hop, especially since I've been blessed to do an old school hip hop mix noon to one.
But the old school is different.
Right.
Because the old school wasn't gangster rap. You understand me? That's my era. That's what I listened to.
Me
the
too.
80s and the early 90s before
Love it.
NWA convinced everybody to become a gangster. You understand me?
Right.
The Public Enemies and the Rakims and the Big Daddy Kings. Don't get me wrong. They had a slight little gangsterism
They
to
had
it.
an edge.
But it was more consciousness than it was death. Today it's more death than it is consciousness. But see, the issue is when NWA came along and sold 1 million records with no radio play, every boy in the hood said, if NWA can sell 1 million albums with no radio play, I need to become a gangster rapper because I can still make it even if I don't get no rotation on the radio. And that's when everybody went gangster rap. And then when Bill Clinton's crime bill came out in 1994, the whites who control the music industry, they said, you know what we got to do? We got to direct the content of hip hop so it glamorizes the very behavior that gets you locked up so we can fill up these new private prisons that Bill Clinton promised he's going to have black bodies for.
Well, the truth hurts.